The point of this video is to show some of my friends the difference between my old Sharp standard definition camcorder, which, by the way, Sharp doesn't even make camcorders anymore, and my new Sony 350V high definition. The Sony films in 1920 by 1080 at the highest settings and 1440 by 1080 at the two lower settings. Of course, the standard definition Sharp filmed or recorded at 720 by 480. The first thing I wanted to see was a side-by-side comparison of how wide each camera started and then how tightly each camera could zoom in. I was happy to see the Sony wins in both ends of that spectrum. And then I also wanted to see how well the image stabilization was on the Sony, which was one of the main reasons why I picked this model. It seemed to have a lot of reviews of having very good image stabilization, and I was very pleased to see that it's a lot better than my old standard def camcorder was. I also wanted to see how good the camcorders were side by side when zoomed out in a very dark room and then zooming into a very bright source. And the Sony, again, just beats it hands down. It looks fantastic. I also wanted to see what the image stabilization would look like while walking down the sidewalk, and I didn't shoot this with the Sharp, only with the Sony. First zoomed all the way out and then zoomed all the way in and trying to hold as stable as possible. And then I also wanted to see what the quality difference were between the highest 24 megabits per second and the lowest 5 megabits per second settings were on the Sony. These scenes were all shot from a tripod and there's no movement, but you're not really going to be able to tell from this video. On my big screen TV, on my big LCD, you can see there is a difference between the 24 all the way down to the 5. The 5 looks surprisingly good, and for all videos that I'm going to be using or for upload purposes, I'm going to start recording in at 5 megabits per second. As you can see, I've noted at the bottom of each of those shots that the 5 megabits uses way less hard drive space. The 4 scenes you were looking at are bright sunlight outdoors, a somewhat well-lit room, a poorly lit room, and then just a plain dark room. Another thing I wanted to show was the slow motion, which the camera shoots natively at 240 frames per second. When I was researching which camcorder to buy, I was really excited about this feature, and immediately after shooting this scene and plugging it into my TV, I was very disappointed. The quality is just terrible. It's grainy. It is smooth, but it just looks really bad. So kind of a bummer there. And then the last thing I wanted to check was whether or not this camera was going to be subject to rolling shutter, which I figured it would be. Even your high-end DSLRs suffer from this. Also known as jello. You'll notice that when we freeze frame here, the slats on the fence end up being at an angle instead of perfectly perpendicular. That's what rolling shutter looks like. Anyway, that's everything I wanted to point out. So if you have any questions, comments, or if I can help, go ahead and post below.